There is a long list of ideas for Harry and Meghan with their new Netflix first look deal. And on that long list is a potential documentary with Harry about his mother, Princess Diana. Now, she died in 1997, so it will be the 30th anniversary in 2027. So producers and directors and film crews are looking at how they, can commemorate what happened to Diana. So it's on the long list, first refusal deal. Netflix will surely want to do this if Harry gives the go-ahead. Is this a wise plan from Harry and Netflix?
I think Netflix will bite his arm off for this one. I mean, I think this is something that would be absolutely massive, and to be fair to Harry, for once, it would be very interesting to get his take on his mother. It won't go down very well with the King or with Prince William. I think they'll be absolutely horrified, and Prince of Wales will particularly think that his mother's being exploited when he wants to sort of leave that all behind him. But I can see him doing this. I mean, I think A, it would be a massive money spinner, and B, Harry will probably treat it as some sort of therapy. He'll convince himself that it's therapy for him. He's getting a lot of things off his chest and putting his truth out there about what happened to his mother, how it devastated him as a young boy. What was he, 12 when she died? How it affected him. Something we read about in Spare. That he obviously bottled up for 20, 30 years and finally came out in all its glory. And you can't take that away from him. It must have been devastating for him. But I just think that William will be horrified by this, but I can well see him doing this. Netflix have now got this deal with them where it's on a one-by-one, case-by-case basis, and this is an absolute winner for them. So, yeah, I think I'd be surprised now if it doesn't happen.
It could be a winner for Netflix. Samara, is it a winner for Harry and the royal family if they were to do this?
I think that's quite the issue, as Phil said. It's Harry's side of the story, but the problem is it will be read as the Diana story. That's the way they produce things. They produce things as if that is fact, that is what happened. And it's very much should be, which it won't be, a collaborative project between the brothers because they both have different experiences. And I think that, interestingly, obviously, Diana's story is a very sensitive and coveted story to tell. And I think Harry and Meghan will absolutely butcher it with their own lens. So I really think that it could be a potential disaster because they will tell their side. It will be totally, this is what happened. And that, I think, will be I keep saying this, but it will probably be the final nail in the coffin for William because Diana's story has been so sort of paraded out and used and abused. And then for your own son to go and capitalise off that with his craven wife, that's the pinnacle for me.
They say in Hollywood, nothing is ever off the table, and in this video, the bold claim is made, I know Prince Harry will do a Diana doc because it's a massive, the rest is left unsaid but heavily implied. In this breakdown, I'll walk you through each segment, uncover how the narrative is shaped, and evaluate whether the evidence supports this dramatic speculation. Let's dive in. To understand the stakes, Harry's relationship with the memory of Princess Diana has long held public fascination. A documentary about Diana can draw huge attention, emotionally and politically. The idea that Harry might do a Diana doc is not new, but presenting it as inevitable is a powerful claim. The video suggests that Harry's Netflix deal, and expectations from media executives, may push him to revisit his mother's story. But is that speculation or concrete likelihood? We'll see how the video builds this. The narrator states confidently that Harry will make a documentary about Diana, framed as a nearly certain move. Words like I know lend weight and certainty. The video may cut to clips of Harry speaking about Diana, press speculation, or Netflix insiders. These visuals reinforce the idea that this is not wishful thinking, but industry expectation. In your narration, you'll want to question, where is the source? Is it direct from Harry, Netflix, or insiders, or is it projection? The phrasing matters. Next, the video likely links this claim to Harry and Meghan's Netflix deal, stating that media executives expect more high-impact content and Diana is the logical high-stakes subject. It may reference past performance, rumored demands, or comparisons to other documentaries.
It will turn it into one long, criticism of the press. He'll say that the press killed his mother.
Yes.
Whereas in one of the most interesting things that William's ever said publicly, I think, a few years ago, was when he's admitted that his own mother was paranoid. I don't think people picked up enough on that. Clearly, William realised that she was paranoid and she did have problems, and she brought some of her problems on herself. And that was all kind of forgotten when she died because, we were all so shocked by her young death, death at such a young age. But and she was sort of kind of put on a pedestal.
Yeah. When
in the sort of 2 years leading up to that, we've all been writing about the numerous affairs she was having, So Harry's I'm not saying it's going to be a whitewash, but it's going to be his version of the truth, as always. And it'd be a fascinating watch, but I don't think, but William will be horrified by it. It's as simple as that, really. But he can't stop him doing it,
Well, William was there for so many moments. I mean, putting tissues through the door for Diana, counselling. He was really her main port of counsel because he was obviously a little bit older. So to not have him involved in that sort of thing is egregious.
He'd probably claim he asked him to get involved and he turned it down,
I wonder why.
Not surprisingly, so
really
he'll be able to say that. But, it's a non-starter. He's not going to get involved with that, is he?
It's a really interesting point. We were talking there about William and Harry do have different views or different memories. I think William's of Diana, because William's a little bit older. And I think those statements you were talking about there about the paranoia, that was after the Lord Dyson interview, Lord Dyson investigation into Bashir, where William kind of said, well, yeah, I'm a bit more realistic about this. And, she did have paranoia, whereas Harry maybe lionises his mother a little bit longer, a bit younger.
They chased her to her death, that's what he'll say. Especially if he loses any more court cases, it'll be an opportunity for him to get, to blame the paparazzi and blame the British press. So, it's, I'm sure that's what'll happen if he does this show.
But it is a shame. Like 10 years after her death, they did the concert for Diana at Wembley, where they were both dancing there in Wembley, both dancing in the stadium, and there was Elton John was there and all sorts of, Kanye West I think was there, all sorts of people playing.
That aged well, that whole thing.
Well. 20 years after, they went to Kensington Palace and they looked at the flowers that people had left, and 10 years ago they did something else as well, which I can't remember.
Yep.
But they definitely got together for Diana, and they also went and unveiled a statue.
Yes.
For Diana when she would have turned 60 at the Sunken Garden at Kensington Palace.
That's one thing that unites them, isn't it? Their mother, could bring them together, and obviously if she
could a documentary do that?
If she was still alive, you'd like to think they wouldn't have, half of this would never have happened. But we are where we are, and that's it. But what are we? We're halfway through 2025, so they have to get going on this fairly quickly if it's going to come out in time. It'll take takes time to make these programmes.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's 90% certain he'll do it.
Well, they've realised polo doesn't sell. Let's go sell my mother down the river. That's what it seems like to me.
It's the one thing that they're guaranteed they're going to get a massive audience for.
Yeah, and Netflix will, as you say, bite their hand off for that 100%. I've been looking because it's been quite controversial and sad at the moment. So I've been looking down my list of stories for something to kind of cheer us up. But the next one on my list is Virginia's memoir will be published in October. So we're not getting any more positive at the moment. So Virginia Giuffre obviously died in April. Had a terrible life, I think, to be quite frank. And she has worked apparently on this memoir for 4 years before she died. It's 400 pages long. We are told that it's going to be intimate and disturbing, heartbreaking new details about her time with Epstein, Maxwell and Prince Andrew. This is an absolute nightmare for Prince Andrew, isn't it, in the royal family? But Virginia Giuffre maybe has every right to tell her story. What's your guys' thoughts?
But I find it astonishing that, obviously she was extremely disturbed and very, very sad situation that she committed suicide, seemingly. Makes you wonder, you would have thought the book would have kept her going, knowing the book was going to come out and she was going to get her side of the story out even more. So she must have been in a terrible state. So it's very, very tragic. But this is, clearly going to haunt Andrew she's going to haunt Andrew and others from beyond the grave, so to speak. And, he must be worried about what's going to come out.
Yeah, but I do think this book is a nightmare for him and actually the royal family in general, because I think that they thought after she died that whole thing had been kind of put to bed. Andrew could kind of go off into the shadows, not to be really seen publicly again or not to be seen with the family. That's not true. Yes, from beyond the grave, she is still kind of haunting them, so to speak. And I think that this will kind of go on and on and on. It won't. The fact that she even wrote a book, not to sound tinfoil hat, and Phil, you were saying this too, shows a lot about the fact that, it just puts into question a lot of what's happened around her death and puts a lot of unanswered things around it. Even the fact that she posted on Instagram that she was fighting for her life 4 days beforehand. I think the conspiracy theorists will have a field day with this whole thing.